started photography when I was 16 years old. It all started when I grew up on a beautiful seaside village called Burghead on the Moray coast here in Scotland, and basically I was very much inspired by the sunset. I used to go down to the beach almost every night and watch the sun setting, and it gave me the bug of being able to, or wanting to, photograph it and capture that on camera, because no two sunsets were the same, and this fascinated me. So yeah, I bought my first camera at 16, and my landscape photography journey began there. And from there I literally just fell in love with photography. I'd go out as many days as I could, learn all the techniques that I could, and although I mostly do landscape photography, I also felt inspired quite quickly to get into wildlife photography and do a bit of astrophotography too. So yeah, it all began then. Literally, the coast here in Scotland has always been my biggest inspiration. I just love the moods and the atmospheres and the light that we get on the coastline. The fact that it doesn't matter if it's a horrible rainy day or a stunning sunny day, you can get good images on the coastline no matter what. So yeah, I feel very, very inspired by the coastline, and as my journey began on a beach, I knew straight away that that was what I wanted to focus on and capture the most. And although I go and do other types of photography, you know, at lochs and lakes and in the woodlands, the coast is always the one that I enjoy the most and that's closest to my heart. And again, I feel most inspired by the sea and the Scottish coastline because it's so rugged and stunning, and we've got award-winning beaches, and it's just, I mean, why wouldn't you want to photograph it? Probably my most memorable experience is probably chasing the Northern Lights, because although I mostly enjoy landscape photography, I think my biggest thrills and excitement has come from photographing the Northern Lights, because you never know when you go out aurora hunting if you're going to get a good show or a bad show, and that excitement just fills me with, it's just so captivating and exciting because you just don't know what's going to happen. Photographing the Northern Lights also made me realise that there's so much more to life than just us, and it really enhanced my love for nature and just getting outdoors and feeling inspired by everything that goes on around me. I have to say probably when I started dabbling in wildlife photography, because it sort of taught me the art of patience. Like before, when I just used to do landscape photography, which is still what I do most of the time, but when that was all I'd ever done, I found myself getting quite impatient, and I would take loads of photographs when I was out and often be dissatisfied with the results I had. But when I started to do some wildlife photography, I really learnt the art of patience, about admiring what's going on around you and just stepping back and watching the light change and how it interacts with the land. And I think once I learnt to read the light and the effects that the light can actually have on the landscape and your images, the more I would step back and the more time I would take into taking a single image, which meant that those images became better quality, they had more thought behind them, and they just ended up being more captivating. In all honesty, just keep getting out there and keep trying. I mean, every genre of photography is different, but the good thing with landscape photography is that even if you go out and you're disappointed with the photographs you took, you will never regret going out into nature and trying. And that experience in itself that is spurred on and inspired by your love for photography is enough to keep you going, because you will always feel inspired to get out into nature, and that buzz and that excitement you get from that, it doesn't always have to equate or transform into an image. It's an experience as a whole. I always try and say in landscape photography, that experience as a whole, because there's nothing worse than being disappointed in life, and you don't want that. So just get out, keep trying, keep enjoying nature, and the more you're out and feeling inspired by that, the more of a bug you're going to get. And then if you do go home with an image or two that you're happy with, that just makes you want to take more and more images in more and more locations, and it just keeps rolling from there. As it's mostly landscape photography I do, it's definitely the light. You know, there's so many times that you can go out and the light is flat, it's disinteresting, you feel uninspired, but that's where I've learned to challenge myself in taking images of things that I maybe wouldn't normally or wouldn't maybe necessarily go out to take images of. And especially since starting to run workshops, I've realised this, because I may have a workshop on a day that's really dull and grey and there's not any good light, but it's taught me to look at other parts of the landscape and look at the more intimate details within it. And it's true that you can actually go home with a good image no matter what the weather is. It's all about adapting to the conditions and adapting to what's happening around you and changing what you actually take a photograph of, because different light intensities and different weathers will equate to better photographs in different situations. So it can be a real challenge going out in dull grey weather, but if you look at just the more intimate details of the landscape and challenge yourself to do something that little bit different, that's definitely for me where the challenge comes from. And of course chasing the light in general, because you could have stunning light and it can disappear in seconds, so being able to capture that as quickly as you can is always a challenge in landscape photography. Landscape photography is challenging, it always is, it's a challenge in itself. Honestly, I wouldn't do anything. I think starting photography when I did was a massive game changer for me in my life. It gave me an escape, it gave me a reason to get out of the house, and it gave me a way of portraying my creativity. And I don't think I'd do anything differently. I'd maybe go out a little bit more than I have over the years and use my free time a little bit more, you know, a little bit better. I'd maybe have forced myself to get out of bed earlier a few more mornings than I have so I could go out and enjoy the sunrise. But the truth is that, like, for me, my landscape photography is my landscape photography journey. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the journey I've had already. And if things had been different, if things had been easier, if I'd pushed myself a little bit more, if I'd done things differently, then maybe my experience and where I am in life right now wouldn't be the same. And quite frankly, in my photography journey right now, I'm very happy because I've got to a point where I understand photography, I understand the landscape, I absolutely love what I do, and I have enough free time to get out and do photography as much as I want to, but without it being a daily occurrence when I get bored of it. So yeah, I don't think I do anything differently. Your journey creates your story and makes you the person you are today. I absolutely love the photographer called Ollie Taylor. He does a lot of astrophotography all around Britain and his photographs blow my mind. Like, I've done some astrophotography, obviously with the Northern Lights and stuff, but I've never ever been able to capture images even half as good as his. I just find them mind-blowing because it's a genre in photography that I struggle with, so seeing somebody excel in that area, I just love it. So yeah, Ollie Taylor, I find him so inspiring.